Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I want to ask you a simple question. Have you ever made a decision that you knew wasn't your best, but you made it anyway? Maybe you sent that text you shouldn't have. Maybe you quit too early. Maybe you held on for too long. Or maybe, if you're a trader, you've taken a trade you promised yourself you wouldn't take. I think we've all been there. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not just Forex, not just crypto, not just stocks. I want to talk about something much bigger. I want to talk about human transactions. Whether you're buying a cup of coffee, negotiating your salary, building a business, investing in a company, or placing a trade, you're making an exchange. And behind every exchange is one simple hope. Life will be a little better after this decision than it was before. Think about it. Why do we invest? Why do we start businesses? Why do we negotiate? Why do we buy houses? Why do we study? Why do we sacrifice today? Because we're hoping tomorrow will reward us for today's decision. That's profit. And profit isn't always money. Sometimes profit is peace of mind. Sometimes it's more time with family. Sometimes it's freedom. Sometimes it's simply knowing you made the right decision. Now here's where things get interesting. The moment we care about an outcome, we become emotional, and that's completely normal. When things go our way, we feel excited, confident, almost unstoppable. But when they don't, we start questioning ourselves. We doubt our abilities. Sometimes we even doubt the system that got us here in the first place. And I don't think that's just true in trading. I think that's true in life. Have you noticed how one bad experience can completely change the way you approach the next opportunity? One rejection makes you afraid to apply again. One failed business makes you hesitant to start another. One betrayal makes it difficult to trust people again. One losing trade suddenly convinces you that you've forgotten how to trade. But have the facts actually changed? Or have your emotions become louder than the facts? Let me give you an example. Imagine you have a trading strategy that has been tested over hundreds of trades. You know it wins roughly 70% of the time. Mathematically, it's profitable. But then something happens. You lose. Again, and again, and again. By the fifth loss, you're uncomfortable. By the 10th, you're frustrated. By the 15th, you're questioning everything. Not because your strategy suddenly stopped working, but because your emotions have started writing a story that the data never told. And isn't that fascinating? Emotion remembers the pain of the last trade. Probability remembers the outcome of the next 100. Emotion says, "You've been losing." Probability quietly replies, "Just keep executing." Emotion says, "This system doesn't work anymore." Probability says, "You've barely scratched the surface of the sample size." The challenge is that emotions speak loudly. Probability whispers, and most of us listen to the louder voice. That's why emotional awareness matters so much, not because the goal is to stop feeling. I don't think that's possible. We're human. We're supposed to feel. We're supposed to celebrate. We're supposed to grieve. We're supposed to be excited. We're supposed to be disappointed. Emotion isn't the enemy. The real question is, can we feel those emotions without allowing them to make our decisions for us? Maybe that's why automated trading fascinates so many people. Algorithms don't panic after 3 losses. They don't become overconfident after 3 wins. They follow the rules. Humans, we're a little more complicated than that. And maybe that's okay. Because the goal isn't to become a machine. The goal is to become aware enough that our emotions inform us, without controlling us. Whether you're trading the markets, building a business, investing in your future, or simply making decisions in everyday life, the greatest challenge probably isn't predicting what happens next. It's learning how to respond when what happens next isn't what you expected. Maybe that's what mastery really is. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to make good decisions in its presence. So I'll leave you with this question. What decisions in your life are currently being driven by emotion? When should they be driven by principle? Take a moment and think about it. I genuinely love to hear your answer. Until next time, take care of yourself and make good decisions.